So when we talk about food security and we talk about political dimensions in terms of where this will take place, like if the government has to decide to, invest and, for us to be able to become a certain percentage of food secure, where will it happen, Mr. Danishawan? Give us an idea of this, because it can be tricky to think that
it is
maybe
very
it will happen.
tricky. It is, if I'm not exaggerating when I say there's a very strong political dimension to food security. And apart from the fact that if we want to be independent, really independent from our big brother in the south, and from Zimbabwe and Zambia, where there's much more agricultural activity than here, we need to grow our own stuff. It is as simple as that. If we want to control our destiny in terms of what we eat, we have to grow it ourselves. But the more important political dimension is domestic. That question, if we take development money, whether it's development grants or whether it is part of the capital budget, so meaning whether it's an external source or an internal source, doesn't matter. If you listen to the debates in Parliament, the moment a scheme, an agricultural scheme for development comes up, the next question is where? And when the Ministry of Agriculture says, no, we've targeted an area along the Kavango River, on, let's say, between Rundu and Kaisosi, where they are at this moment doing fairly significant developments in terms of irrigated crops. Then the next question is, why not on the other side of the Okavango River, on the Caprivi side, in Babatwa, that 10,000 hectare corner where Namibia, Angola, and Babatwa National Park, where they meet, where all the experimental plantings with sugar cane and I think pineapples and that sort of thing. So when we talk about allocating funds to developing agronomic, should I say, projects to grow food, we start hassling in Parliament about the issues of where we must spend that money, and then the second one is how much of it must we spend. And I think we will not overcome the food security thing until we've reached a level of political maturity where in our Parliament, in the National Assembly, the opposition and the government can say, people, we need to approach this from the perspective of the benefit for the country first, and then the benefit of the population in that area. Because remember, we don't want to be food secure only in the Kavango. They've been food secure for thousands of years. I mean, long before there was any colonial influence here, the indigenous communities were all food secure. You can take this to extremes. You can talk about the San and the Kalahari. Even they are food secure. You must just leave them alone. Remember what I said last week about government interference? Yes. So, and that is not the easy thing to attain, to reach. That consensus that we have to go to specific locations, and we have to go with specific allocations in terms of money, funding. I think what will decide this in the end is where the water is, first of all. So obviously the two Kavango regions are prime targets. Oangwena is a good target for one reason, and that is they sit on top of the Oangwena aquifer. But also the central parts of the old bamboo land is also good, but it's very seasonal. It depends on the so-called efunja, when there's water and when there's not water. And then obviously along the Zambezi, but that area is again very sensitive in terms of tourism and conservation.
That's exactly what I was thinking now.
Yeah, one has to be, we're walking on a tightrope here, Elsabe. If a community earns 100,000 Namibia dollar in a year from hunting concessions or from tourism concessions from a conservancy, and we start planting mealies in that area. So we're basically scarring the environment to produce food, and that same community now earns 50,000 Namibia dollar a year from selling maize, but they've lost the tourism income. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
You see, it's a really cart before the horse type of argument that you apply there. If we look at the south, at Neckartal, for instance, where the idea is now to develop about 5,000 hectares under irrigation, that makes all the sense in the world. Because I can guarantee you we're not going to lose millions in forfeited tourism income if we use the water in Neckartal to develop a second irrigation scheme.
And on that one, let's quickly go for another short break, and we'll come back talking more on how much it might be and also, at what cost.